to Cheryl's Book Nook. I hope you're having a lovely day. I've got my coffee. I've even got a little blanket on, probably because I'm wearing shorts and my legs are really white, And we are going to talk about our May reading. Oh my goodness. I had, again, just a really good month. I had 4 or 5 stars, 4 stars, and 2 3 stars. So not a bad month, not a bad month in reading. And I finally got so much knocked off my reading list. If you go back and watch my June reads, you'll see like how much of my backlist I got off and how I could start a whole new bunch of books, because I got myself in this whole thing where my TBR was way too aggressive, and I'm learning that I'm about a 9 book a month person. That's about what I can fit in. Okay, so I'm learning. Okay, and this month I did 10 books. So I'm about a 9-10 book person a month. That's about many. So when I put like 15 books in my TBR, I'm not going to get that done. So we are keeping it realistic, and we were learning about ourselves. And I'm getting ready to do another video, and that's going to come up on the same day. And that's a challenge myself. So we're going to have so much fun over the next couple weeks, over the next couple months. I hope you're here to join me on this ride, and let's talk about some books. Yes, and if you hear any noise, my daughter is out cleaning up some stuff in the yard. So, summer help. So, here we go. So, I did start off the month reading 2 short stories, okay? And so I don't have them because they were one was on audio and one was on Kindle. So I'll have to put them up here. But the first one was my Frieda for the month. And if you see me bending down or looking down, if you've watched my past videos, or if you're new, welcome. I have all my notes on my computer down here. So, because if not, I will get very distracted. Okay, so my first that I actually technically saved the last month's, but I finished it on the 1st of May. So I thought, well, it'll count towards May, but it counts because I did start it. Okay, it was just a crazy month last month. It's okay. It's not a big deal. April was crazy. May was crazy. June will be crazy. That's just the way it is. So, back to things. So, Frieda McFaddens, okay? So, I didn't even know what I was reading. Like, I was like, okay, I don't even know what this means. And I had such a good time reading this. Like, this was hilarious to me. And I don't know, I didn't know how to put it into words without, like, giving it away. So, I'm actually going to read to you the description that Goodreads gave, okay? Or portion of the description that it gave, okay? The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie, right? That's the book. Is an utterly addictive, unputdownable, nail-biting, absolutely gripping psychological thriller novella with a shocking, breathtaking, heart-stopping, spine-chilling twist that you won't see coming, and will leave you stunned and literally have you picking your jaw off the floor, and bringing it to the nearest hospital for major facial reconstructive surgery. Okay, now I'm going to say something else. I cracked up. Okay, it is satirical. I loved it. I did not realize. I'm learning so much about myself. First of all, I love novellas. That's first. Second of all, I'm sorry, I had to look up there for a second. Second of all, I love satire. Love satire, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, I ate this up. When I finally got to sit down and read it, it did not take me very long. It is worth it. It's on Kindle U. So I would say definitely go. And I gave it 5 stars. 5 stars, baby. It was so good. So good. So glad I read it. And I actually am planning to do a video on some short stories and novellas or whatever. I am going to read the next one. Is going to be actually Abby Jimenez Falris. So maybe I'll do like a ranking or something. I'm so excited because my next one was an audiobook that I listened to. And it was called Elevation by Stephen King. I'm like, it was like a couple hours. So I'm like, sure, great, let's, throw it in there. So I had actually started it on the month prior, but I finished it on the first. And this is actually, it actually had two stories, which I found out that the second story is only in the audio, not in the hard copy. So if you go and pick up the physical copy, it might not be in there. But the version that I listened to on Libby had a second little story. But the first one was much longer, was the bigger part of the book. The other one was very short. Okay, so the first one was about a story of a man in Maine, and he has a strange condition. And he is losing weight, but he is not losing size. He's staying the same size. Like his clothes are not changing. His clothes aren't getting bigger, anything like that. And so it's really strange. And some other really strange, phenomenal things are happening around him. And through this story, it actually was a story about uniting people, and it had a really good ending. I mean, it was so good that I literally at the end was tearing up. It had me in a little bit of like an emotional chokehold. It was so good. Okay, I definitely loved it. The second story was called Lori, and it was about a gentleman who was a widow, and his sister brought him this dog, this puppy. It was actually a little puppy. And it's about him and this puppy, and they have a little adventure. And it was really a sweet little story, and I definitely thought it was worth listening to. So happy that I got that experience. Again, another, Stephen King is a phenomenal storyteller. At the end of the day, he's a master at telling stories. And he just makes you feel for these characters. Even in a short one, I was like, what's going to happen? Where's this going? So really, really good. So I definitely I am pretty positive I gave both those 5 stars. I didn't write it down, but I'm pretty sure I did. Okay. So the next one that I read, I actually have here. I finally got to go back to this world. And once again, Feyre and the gang are at it. And War is crouching at the door, and she also must help her sisters adjust to Fey life, right? And I felt for everyone in this book. I felt for everyone. More mates are revealed and not well received. And there are some surprises as well. This was so good. I had missed this world, and I'm so glad I read it. And if you want more, I'm sure there's tons of information. I'm not going to go into it. But I really enjoyed it, and I'm really enjoying the series, and I gave it 4 stars. Okay? So, the next book that I read... Sorry, I got to scroll down. Okay. All right. The next book I read was Pitch Perfect. It is actually a nonfiction book. This was from my March movie Madness video, and I really just wanted to read it. And so I did. I read it. I learned a lot about the vocal sport of a cappella that I never knew. This book actually name drops some really infamous, I won't say famous, because there's one person I was like, I never would have thought in a million years ever did a cappella, was in an a cappella group. Yeah. So, oh, my glasses were on. Oh, well. I'm sorry. I know my ring light was in there. I'm not going to start over, though. Okay. So, yeah. So, Pitch Perfect. And it was about Mickey Rapkin. And he learned about this, the sport, and he told the back history of a cappella. And I actually skimmed the last portion of it because I just felt like it was getting kind of repetitive, and I was like, okay, I get the point. So I gave it 3 stars. Okay, but it was good. I mean, I can see how they made the movie out of this. As strange as that sounds, I can see how they... I'm not a real huge fan of the movie, so, I mean, I've seen the movie. It's funny, but yeah, I can see where they got that from. But yeah, anyways, I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. It was okay. The next book I read... Oh my gosh, this book. I was so happy that I read this book. I've got to tell you, I was just like, oh my gosh. First of all, I want to say that there is one author that I think is a queen, and a lot of people can disagree with me, of historical fiction, and that is Kristen Hanna. And if you like Kristen Hanna, you will love this, because Ariel Lawhon is an amazing writer. This is the first thing I read by her. I think she's wrote other books. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go back and read her other books, her back. But this is called The Frozen River, okay? And this is actually a historical fiction about a midwife in 1789. And this, it follows a year of her life. Now, what I love at the end of this, she explains how she found out about this person and how she put the story together, because she took some liberties of time and things like that, and she references another biography about this person. This woman, I think, did like over 1,000 births in her lifetime. This story was just so good. I learned so much about the history, because she was living in Maine, post-Revolutionary War, but before Maine was a state, I believe. And like the law and the legal system was just so amazing to me. I didn't know. I don't know anything about this. So once again, these historical novels are teaching me things I never learned in school. Okay? It was just really, really good. I loved it. And I gotta say, so the main character, I can't think of her name, Martha, and her husband Ephraim, their love was so pure, and just so, like, he was so good to her. Now, I think that was some liberties taken with that, but I was so glad she wrote that in there. And yeah, this man, he was so good to her, and that I fell in love with that too. I fell in love with their relationship and their marriage and everything. And I can imagine it's very hard in that time to have a woman who had a profession, because that was looked upon. I mean, her profession was good, but I mean, I think a lot of people didn't like it if a woman worked outside the home at that time. And so he was so supportive of her and just everything. And then again, she explains, if you read this book, I would say highly recommend reading the author's note in the end. You will not, it's so worth it. And she explains a lot about how she came to the story, like I said, and it is really good. I was so glad I read this. I didn't know what to expect, and again, this will be a go-to author for me. Okay, I 10 out of 10 recommend. Give that 5 stars. Okay, so this book, I don't even know why, but I have been wanting to read this book, and I've said this. I just want to read this book. I just want to read this book. And I have realized, funny story. Okay, so it's David Morrell by First Blood. Okay, and it is the story of John Rambo, which I think he says in the beginning that he didn't give him his name John. He just called him Rambo. When they put the movie he wrote this in the 70s. The movie came out in the 80s. Funny story. Okay, I'm reading this book and I'm like, I remember seeing Rambo, and I don't remember any of this. And then I looked up the trailer, and no, the trailer for this movie, is exactly very close to the book. I had saw the second one, and I realized that afterwards. But regardless, Rambo was a Green Beret, and who also was a prisoner of war, and he suffered from PTSD. And he ends up in Kentucky, and he does not like to be told what to do. And so when he is told to leave town and he refuses, he gets in trouble and he ends up going to jail. Well, nobody's going to lock this man in another hole. Okay, he is not going in another cage. He is not going in another jail cell. Nothing. No, he is not. And that's when the body count starts to rise, because he basically goes all out Green Beret on these people. And these people are little Kentucky small town police officers and have no idea what they are up against. Okay, it was a very action-packed story. It was really good. I know there's more of them. I probably won't read them, but I liked it. David Morrell was actually he went to school for writing, and he was watching a lot of men come home from Vietnam suffering from PTSD. A lot of the things, he saw a lot of people coming home and dealing with some of the issues that Rambo dealt with in society. And so that's why he wrote this book. And I think he did a really good job of honoring those people who suffered from that and telling a really good story. And so, yes, I don't even know. I think I gave it 3 stars only because that's just my opinion, but it was a good book. And if you like stories like this, you might rate it higher. It's not my genre that I usually read. I do like some stuff like this, but this was a little bit, I don't know. Anyways, but I gave it 3 stars. It was really good. So, anyway. So, the next book, oh my gosh, this book I listened to was The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. Now, I don't follow Britney Spears real closely. I had heard rumors of different stuff, but I had not followed her closely. I knew about the legal stuff that she was going through and the conservatorship, and I knew she got out of it, and I knew it was a long one, and I knew from seeing, all that stuff. But I didn't know the back dealing with it. So this story is very heartbreaking. And it's really sad because Britney Spears was never protected by the people that were put on this earth to protect her. And that, to me, is the most heartbreaking. As a parent, I couldn't imagine doing or taking advantage of any of my children, for any reason. And she was completely taken advantage of, and all for a payday for her family. That's personally how I feel. Now, I only heard one side of the story, but knowing some of the things that came out, I believe, in the courts and everything. And I'm going to say something, and this is going to sound really weird. And I hope it makes sense to you. But the reason that she suffers so badly, and you see, I even saw some videos recently of her, and she's not okay. She is not okay. And who would be? Who would be? After reading this story, I don't know how many people that would be. She has a father wound. Okay? And I know that sounds really, most people call it maybe daddy issues. I call it a father wound. Okay? And I'm not the only one. I know other people that use that terminology. And if you've never heard that, it is a wound put there by the father who does not do what he is supposed to do. I really think also from her telling the story, she wasn't completely down on them, but he had a very tribal childhood. He had father wounds, so therefore he inflicted father wounds on her, at least. As far as I'm not Ashley, I'm sorry, that's Simpson. I saw her name recently. As far as her sister, I think she came in later in life, so she didn't get to see what Britney saw and live through what Britney lived through before. But she, later in life child, I guess, and everything. This story was completely heartbreaking, and I would definitely recommend reading it if you want to know more about it. It was interesting to hear her side of the story, and I'm glad that she got to tell her side of the story. But I just really honestly hope that she gets the help, really gets to heal, because I think she's an amazing person and has a huge heart. And I just hope she really gets what she needs to heal and truly gets the help that she needs, because she needs a lot of help. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I gave it 5 stars. I can't give it any less because it was just tragic, and I just really hope she gets that. So, okay. So this is the final book, I believe, that I read this month. And I don't even know where to start with this. Okay. Although this is not historically accurate, I believe that it gave the perspective of the people who lived through this time from that perspective, from that position. I loved Rhett Butler. I loved him. He's a character, okay? And he says something, and it was so wise. And it says, rich men start wars and poor men fight them. Yeah. It was, yeah. And he spoke truth in this story, and people didn't like it. He said the South were fools to get into this war. They should have never gotten the war. They were not prepared. They didn't have the ammo. They didn't have the factories to make weapons. They didn't have all that stuff. Okay? It was a slow burn romance. I mean, when I say slow burn, slow. 800 plus pages of slow burn. It is what today's romance authors aspire to. Now, I know this has some controversial views. I know that it does deal with racism, and I'm not negating that. It did talk about certain groups in this book, and I do not support any of the views of those groups. Okay? But I do think that it is important to recognize things did happen. It is not okay that they happened, but they did happen. And that's what I'm going to say about that. Okay? I did give it 4 stars. And I took 1 star off because of the group that is mentioned in this that I did not. I was like, oh, ugh, that gave me the ick, as the kids would say. That gave me the ick. But the romance in this book was so good. Scarlett O'Hara, I still to this day, yes, she was a little bit of a brat, okay? But she was 17 when this war started. 17. I mean, she's just a baby. What 17-year-old that's lived in the way she's lived in the society that she's lived in wouldn't have a problem? Have you looked around today? I mean, there are people that are much older who act way less mature than she did. She got to the responsibility of holding things together in the midst of a war, and a treacherous war at that. Okay, I really did enjoy it. I am going to listen to it on audio because I did kind of skim it towards the end because I was honestly just burnt out by it because it is so long. And I think if this is one of those books that I would, if I were to read again, I would read, it's 5 parts. I would read one part as if it was a series and then take a break. Because when I get into something and it's that long, I start like my brain, I'm like, I need to go on to something else. I get bored. I get like, I'm done with the story. So I did skim it towards the end. I put the audiobook on hold. It's like taking forever to get there. But I am going to listen to it on audiobook. I did watch the movie on HBO Max. I really enjoyed the movie. In fact, when I was writing my script and doing all my YouTube stuff the other night, that's what I did. I watched the movie. I loved it. I thought the acting was great. I loved all the characters. I loved Mamie. She was sassy. I loved it. Loved it. And there's a lot of controversy around that movie, and it's really sad because it was a really good story. But again, I gave this 4 stars. Loved it. Glad I read it. Don't regret it at all. It is a true classic. So it was my classic for the month. So, oh, okay. Now, yes, it wasn't my last book. Now I remember. So, my last book was my Frieda for the month. And, oh my gosh. Oh, Do Not Disturb. Sorry, I almost forgot the name of it. Okay, so this book, so yes, I know I did a Frieda in the beginning, and that was my Frieda for last month. So this is my Frieda for this month. So we're all caught up on our Friedas now. I got a little behind. Okay, this story is about Quinn, okay? And she ended up unaliving her abusive, cheating husband, okay? Only she ends up at the Baxter Motel, where you could literally, as I was reading it, I could literally feel the crunchiness of this carpet, okay? Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I felt like I needed to take a shower reading this because I was like, I can just know this is dirty. In my mind, I was like, this is a dirty, dirty place. Like, oh. Anyways, It was a true Frieda, okay, with the twists, the turns you didn't see coming, justice in the end. It actually had a happy ending. I really enjoyed the multiple POVs, and I gave this 4 stars. Not 5 stars, but 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. I do recommend it. Again, I love Frieda. She is one of my favorite authors, and her books are so easy to read. And I needed a palate cleanser after that, and after the Britney story. I was like, I need something light, and so I guess I didn't write a conclusion. So in conclusion, I was looking for my conclusion. I had a great reading month. So comment below if you've read any of these books. When I posted online that I had read this, lots of people commented on it. I was surprised, but yeah, and a lot of people liked it. And I don't know if I'll read the next one, Scarlet. I've heard things about that. I don't know if I'll read it, but anyways, regardless, I had a great reading month. I hope you had a great reading month.